everybody, Georgeryals from Archery Learning Center, and here we are. We're at step 3. Today is step 3, thing a week on the big 4. So we're doing the big 4. If you're just coming to us, look back. Over the last couple weeks, we've done step 1 and step 2. And the reason that we're learning the big 4 is it creates consistency from your body. That's where the real differences come from when you have inconsistency in your shooting. I hate to break it to you, but there's no stabilizer position that you can switch to. There's no Allen wrench or Allen screw that you can twist. There's no secret arrow rest position. There's no secret FOC or anything like that that's going to make you more consistent. You're going to have to figure out how to do it in a consistent way to create consistency. None of that tuning stuff is going to work out for you until this is under control and working great. And then after that, you can create a little bit of forgiveness with a few tuning tips, which we will eventually go through. But right now, step 3 of the big 4. So to review, we've already done step 1, fingers in the release, hand in the grip, and the why and the how to get there. Then, big clarifying breath to get ready for the shot. Pick it up, pull it back, release the tension from your shoulders. We also learned how to set the starting angle of yourself if you're shooting uphill or downhill, and when you're shooting a vertical face, when there's a big difference in the elevation of the targets you're shooting during tournament. So now we have the bow at full draw, and we're going to go through what's next. But before then, I got to tell you really quick, I got to pay the bills here. Go to improvemyarchery.com. You can get lessons from me, either in person in my shop, or you can get them online via Zoom. You can look at my calendar, pick a spot that works for you, and then I'll be there waiting on you when your lesson time comes. I do Olympic recurve, compound, traditional, bare bow, whatever you're into, I'm into it too. Archery is my life. Okay, here we go. Step 3 of the big 4, right? So Quinn, just kind of go ahead through, show them all the way from the beginning with a big pause in between each step to make sure that you underline the fact that each step was properly done. Okay?
Okay. First, I get my hand set in the release, just like I would have it when I'm at full draw. And then I put my hand in the bow and make sure it's right. And then one tip that's saved me from multiple zeros is whenever I pull the bow back, I glance over at the rest to make sure that the arrow is not off the rest or to make sure I didn't forget to put an arrow in the bow.
How many of y'all forgot to put the arrow on the rest and the shot goes off and you go, oh, where'd my arrow go? And it's way off down there low right. I hate it when that happens. Anyway, go ahead.
Anyway, deep breath. I'm going to draw back.
And see, he's holding that anchor kind of away from his face so he can feel the pressure, right? And he releases the pressure out of his shoulders so that the shot will be nice and stable. And then at this point, he's going to set up on the target. So go ahead and let down. I'm going to describe what we're doing with this step. So in step 3, step 2, we've got the bow at full draw. We've released the tension and everything's ready to go. So step 3 is how we actually address the target. And we're shooting at the target. So we need to make sure that we set up the pressure and the direction at the bullseye that we're shooting at. Because if you're shooting at a target with multiple faces, if you're shooting the top target versus the bottom target, if you're shooting uphill or downhill, you need to make sure that everything is set up and aligned with the target after you pull back. So if you do make a mistake, it's very close to the middle rather than way off. And here's how we do that. So you'll pull the bow, boom, and you're holding away from your anchor a pretty good amount so that you can feel it. Then you're going to look past the string. Right now, we're not even at that step yet. You're going to look through the glass. If you have a scope, it's going to be blurry. That's okay. you just look through the scope at the blurry bullseye, and you're going to put the dot on the target first. So that makes sure that when you set up the pressure, it's going to be at the target that you want. If you have a problem with shooting the wrong bullseye or something like that, if you're looking, I'm going to use the camera, if you're looking at the bullseye that you want to hit and draw your bow and then put the pin on that bullseye right in front of your eyeball and then anchor, you're going to be on the right bullseye. You wouldn't look through your binoculars first and then hunt down the target, right? So we don't want to pull our bow back and get all anchored and set and then go hunt the target down because our pressure could be anywhere. So demo that, Quinn. You're going to pull back, pin on first, and then swing the peep into view.
See, I glanced up at the rest.
The arrow wasn't on the rest.
Okay, so drop back, pin on.
And see, he did that with very little head movement, and he put the peep right in front of his eyeball. Now, this is somewhat controversial because every archery coach in the world, on the internet, everywhere says you must have a positive anchor. These little knuckles have to be right here on your face, you know, with the anchor and how you're looking through the peep. If you're shooting an Olympic recurve with a sight, your anchor has to be exact and positive, and your nose has to be touching the string. Because with an Olympic recurve, if your head angle changes, your elevation changes. If you don't have a solid anchor, the arrow could hit high and low all over the place. But with a compound bow, we have a peep sight. And your anchor, this thing runs the show, not what you touch on your face. The little hole that you're looking through will supply all of the accuracy and consistency that you need. So for target archery, you're going to use the smallest peep hole that you can stand to look through and still have good contrast between your aiming point and the target, so that you can look at the target and use your secondary vision to keep the pin in the middle. So when you draw back and you swing that peep into view, stop moving when the peep is centered with the target. And you'll want to draw back, look through the peep first, then touch your face and anchor, and the peep will tell you where your anchor is going to be. If you're at 3 yards, your anchor is going to feel high and tight because the scope's really high on your bar. If you're at 100, the scope's really low on the bar, the viewing angle has to change so that you can look through the peep and have the peep centered around the target and your scope be in view. So with 100, you're going to be down here. So if you draw the bow back and look through the peep first before you anchor, you can let the peep tell you where to touch here. And your accuracy doesn't come from how to touch the string. It's how you look through the peep is where your accuracy comes from. So let the peep tell you where to touch, and how you touch doesn't really matter. The only reason with a compound that we touch our face is so that this unsteadiness doesn't upset the sight pin. So I use the side of this finger like this, and I just touch it. So that way I can have some stability here, you know, with my hand, right? So wherever the peep is centered with the target, that's where I touch, so that my anchor is always exactly where it's supposed to be, because the peep says that's where it's supposed to be. And that'll give you your greatest degree of accuracy. So one more time, show them kind of how that works and walk them through that. He's got his grip, got his fingers, he draws, takes the pressure out of his shoulders, pin on first, peep in front of the eye, anchor is good, and there we are. That is step 3 in the Big 4. I'll see you next week for the final step, step 4. See you next week.